Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. Guys, what a dramatic derby. We knew it was going to be like that, guys. I mean, it is just the way that Napoli Salernitana was always going to go down. For people that were thinking that this was going to be an easy result because Salernitana was 19th in the table, it's never like that in derbies. We suffered quite a bit last year against Benevento. We did win those games, but it was tough, especially away at Benevento. And I remember Petagna playing a crucial role away from home against Benevento last year. This time he played a crucial role once again, and it's because in derby games you need that big number 9 presence in the box. I am 100% convinced that there is a time and a place to play nice, attractive football, and then there's a time and a place where you just need to put muscles on the field, and that is where Petagna is really useful, and that's where he shined. And you know, he was decisive for Napoli's goal. Alessio Lucchini is asking, where was Osimhen? Osimhen is slightly injured in his right calf, that is. So it's nothing too serious, but he didn't make the trip down south. And he will probably join us for the next game with Verona and miss the Europa League game midweek. Tarek BK saying, what a fight. Forza Napoli. That what we love about this Napoli. Guys, it's a really good Napoli side this year because we've won games in every single way now. And yes, we've still got to play Milan. We still have to play Inter, which are the two teams directly below us or next to us if Milan win their game as well. But apart from that, I think we've faced a wide range of teams by now with different situations that would go against us, from having to come back from behind a few times, the Osimhen red card at the start of the year, this red card from Koulibaly, even though it was only 15 minutes left in the game. But, you know, playing in a derby game, that's not something that we had done before this year. So different games, and you know the result is almost always the same, and that's that Napoli somehow in one way or another they get the 3 points. And let's see some of the comments, guys. SJ saying, I think today showed how much we will miss Osimhen more than anyone else. We have Manolas and Juan to cover for Kuli and Demme to cover for Anguissa, but Osimhen is so unique for this team, and I totally agree. You know, I keep saying that when the African Cup of Nations comes, only after we've passed the African Cup of Nations will we know where Napoli stand realistically in the table going into the end of the year. You know, are we still going to be in contention, or are we going to lose those 3-4 games without him? What's going to happen? Because Osimhen is so fundamental to Napoli, the way he stretches defense, the way he attacks the space, and Mertens plays a different style of football that we need to readapt to. Petagna is also different today. He was instrumental, but he's not the type of player that you can play 4 or 5 games in a row as a starter, is my opinion. Let's see. The red card against us was a joke, almost like they don't want us to win, says Tarek BK. The problem with that red card is that you have to give the foul. Because there was a shirt tug. Alright, there was a shirt tug. You have to give a foul. And once you give a foul in that position, you can't give a yellow card, because in theory, by the rules, it's when you don't make an attempt to play the ball, and a shirt tug is never an attempt to play the ball. So when you don't make an attempt to play the ball, and you are the last man, and it's outside of the box, then it's a red card. If it was in the box, then it would have been a yellow card. So it's one of those things, guys, and we have to go to Verona. We have to accept it. I'm not going to complain about it. There's enough in there that for me, if it happened the other way around, I would say, you know what, for me that's a red card. And we just have to go to Verona and play against informed Simeone without Koulibaly, and Manolas was not even on the bench. He's not fit enough to play at this point, so we will probably have to play with Juan Jesus and Rahmani as our centre-back pairing, which is pretty scary to think. Uncle Sharma, Inter Videos Weekly, Inter fan dropping by to drop some love to Lucianone Spalletti and your great channel. Guys, I think there's a few Inter fans that every once in a while come into the chat. If you guys are Inter fans, go check out Uncle Sharma. He's a great content creator, and thanks for dropping by in the chat. Let's see. Wow, what a derby win, man, says ID Beats. I think at this point, and Vincenzo is saying maybe the biggest win of the season, and I think I agree with you because it was tough in a derby. But let's go straight into the analysis. Let's go see exactly what happened in today's game and how Salernitana made it difficult for us, but also how we made it difficult for ourselves. So let's get started. So normally we play with Osimhen up top, and he's the main guy. He never really comes back towards that number 10 position, but in this game we saw that Zielinski and Mertens were playing pretty much level with each other. At some points Zielinski would go in front, sometimes Mertens, but Mertens had a tendency to come back, and so you'll see that a lot of the chances that Napoli create later on, it's actually Zielinski who's the one that's furthest up the field and getting the opportunity to score. And he misses a really good one in the first half because Mertens is the type of guy that stays back. Maybe he's not youthful enough anymore to, make those darting runs forward. So we had to rely on Zielinski at this point. And yeah, this is another screenshot a few minutes later where you see Mertens not having that presence in the box. Now, personally, I think that in this case, he's in the right spot. You want someone there. Fabian scored a very good goal last week by receiving the ball at the edge of the box, and I'm all for having someone there. So this is not to criticize his position in this moment. It's the right position. It's just to highlight that this is what he tends to do, whereas Victor Osimhen would have tried to receive the ball in between the center backs. And so it's a different style of play, and Napoli really had to adapt to that. And in the first half, whilst he's in a good position here, oftentimes he wasn't. Oftentimes we did need that someone in attack, and there's no coincidence that when Napoli did score a goal in the second half, it happened to be when Petagna was in the box and giving that presence in the box. And we see here that oftentimes it's Zielinski, as I said, that is the one that had to make the runs because there was no one in the box. You see Mertens is nowhere near the middle, and Zielinski makes a run. Di Lorenzo picks him out actually quite well. Difficult opportunity to score because the ball's coming in quick. There was a deflection on it, but Zielinski in this point, he's got to do a bit better. I think it would have been better for him to swing with his right foot. Instead, he swings with his left foot, and if you swing with your right foot, you can swing your foot and come down at an angle and keep the ball low. When you swing with your left foot like that, it's like a back slap, You're always going to go forward, whereas when you go forward, you're always going to go down. So he was always going to send that ball high if he's going to put any power next to it, and in fact he did. It's an interesting choice by Zielinski, but I don't think he had a lot of time to properly think about it, and that was probably our best or second to best chance of the first half. Let me take a look at some of the comments before I continue about what you guys are saying. A lot of people having opinions about today's game. Carl Romero: might be worth exploring options to sell Manolas in January. If Jesus is ahead of him, that tells me he's checked out. Get him gone and get a backup center back, wing back who wants to be part of this team. I think there's a bit of a muscular injury going on with Manolas. I personally would keep him at this point because we've got the African Cup of Nations in January, and it's very risky to bring in a new center back to try to replace Koulibaly, for example, in those games. So I would rather play with Manolas, to be honest, than risk it with some new center back halfway through the season. Dave FC is saying it's not just Osimhen though. During AFCON, Osimhen, Koulibaly and Anguissa will be missed. Also other players like Unas, Gulam might have a role in the next few weeks, and he might be gone. I don't know if Algeria will call him, but there's a few other African players in the Napoli team that have a bit of a squad. They're squad players, but Unas was changing games in the first few games when he came on as a sub, and I think he will be missed, and he is being missed, is my opinion, over the last few games. Let's see. Vincenzo Bertillo saying, how many games will Koulibaly miss? In my opinion, I think he will miss just the one game because, for example, Osimhen, when he got a straight red card, it was for violent conduct, right? Because he put his hand on someone's face. That's too... So it depends on the extent. So if you elbow someone in the face, that's usually like 3 days or 3 games. If it's a half violent thing like what Osimhen did, it's 2. And if it's a straight red because of a non-violent situation, like a shirt tug as the last man, then it's just the 1 game. So he should only be missing the Verona game and not the Inter game. Tony Ajito saying, I think Osimhen is a little too respectful to his teammates. When he comes back, he should become a little arrogant and disrespectful. I don't know about that, man. I mean, I think the team should not... There shouldn't be anyone in the team that's arrogant and disrespectful. He needs to obviously demand a lot from his teammates, and that's fine. But, it's not like he should expect Insigne to give him the penalties, for example. I mean, I know that he got mad that he didn't take the last penalty last weekend or in midweek, and Koulibaly had to go to him and say, Koulibaly tugged his shirt and said, stay quiet and go celebrate with the team. Don't cause issues, because the last thing we want is Osimhen getting mad that he's not taking penalties against someone like Insigne, who's the captain and been here all his life. So, there's got to be some level of, yes, arrogance maybe, but not disrespect to, the people that have been here for 10, 12 years. I mean, think how Mertens must feel already, being on the bench for Osimhen. And it's normal. Osimhen's always going to be a starter. You spent 80 million on him, but, what I'm trying to say is that he's already got enough. I don't think he needs to, ask for more, such as penalties. Matteo Casale is saying, for the 20th time, guys, a straight red is 1 match. Depending on the severity of the offense, it is upgraded to 2 or 3 games max. So yeah, exactly what I said. SJ saying, without Osimhen, I think we need to play a 4-2-4 and have Insigne and Mertens together up front, then use Lozano and Politano on the wings. I love Mertens, but up front alone isn't as effective anymore. When I see Insigne and Mertens up front, it gives me Ancelotti vibes. And I really didn't like his time there. I think when Osimhen's missing, we need maybe a 4-3-3 rather than a 4-2-3-1. But I think Spalletti will change it next time if this ever happens again. Daniel Bowen with the ever so generous €10 donation. Thank you, Daniel, for supporting the channel as much as you do. In late Dom, no balls of steel tonight. 18,000 versus 1. Wanted to get to my car. How about Chucky playing central striker versus Verona? So Daniel, for you guys that watch Napoli Talk consistently, will know that Daniel, he goes and watches every Napoli game as much as possible. And we were joking in the chat last week about how he was going to go and watch the game against Salernitana and be the only Napoli fan there, and how we had to, pay for his medical bills after that. But no, I'm glad that you're safe. The game's over. You're safe. That's the most important thing, man. So how about Chucky playing central striker versus Verona? See, that's an interesting one, because that was something that Ancelotti tried as well a few times. And you know what? I kind of liked it and I think Gattuso tried it a few times, and I liked it because Lozano is very similar to Osimhen in terms of speed that he can give and the way he stretches teams out. So you know what? I would do that. If it was me, I would play Mertens as a number 10 instead of Zielinski, because I think that Zielinski, even though he scored today, is not at his peak. And then I would play Chucky in attack to stretch that defense out. Which let me get to why we started off with the way that we started. So we had Lozano, Zielinski and Politano behind Dries Mertens without Insigne. Insigne didn't even play a minute today. And I said it on Twitter, so for those that follow me on Twitter, without Osimhen, we weren't stretching defenses out enough. The whole point was that with Lozano playing, that could be mitigated to some extent because he's very dynamic. So he likes to stretch people out. And also with Insigne, when Insigne plays, he likes to do that long pass to Osimhen or, that cross into the box. But when you've got a short guy like Mertens, who's not really going to run too much at 35, these long passes, these long balls from Insigne are less effective, which is why if there was one game to rest Insigne, it would have been today. And that's my personal opinion about it, because sooner or later he would have had to rest, and it's better to do it whilst Osimhen is not playing. Let's see some more comments before I move on to the next slides. T. Tolea Foa, welcome back to the house, my man. To be fair, Politano and Lozano didn't set up Mertens that well. Our Barcelona-style play from before is better at setting up Mertens. Insigne and Politano on the wings, and Mertens behind Lozano or Petagna. Lozano has a good leap and header on him, so that could be useful. And we get to actually the Lozano leap. Actually, before we do that, I just want to say that Napoli, even though we had trouble playing today, we didn't create as much in attack. I thought the midfield still behaved really well. You can see here how close Fabian, Anguissa and Zielinski are to each other. So like our three, let's say, midfielders, super tight and always in a triangle. Whenever one of them has the ball, especially either Anguissa or Fabian, there's always Zielinski free and the other person between Anguissa and Fabian free. They've always got two options, and then there's always this really nice movement that happens. So, for example, now Fabian gives the ball to Anguissa, and that was always planned because Zielinski is just there to keep Salernitana, a bit more central and free up Anguissa on the side. And then as soon as Anguissa gets the ball, Politano comes in, so he provides that one option for him, but then Zielinski makes the run in between the two midfielders that were marking him, and then now Anguissa has two options and both of them are forward. And it's really nice movement by Napoli. But potentially, if Anguissa decides I'm not going to pass it to either of them, he can always turn left, and as soon as he turns left, then Fabian knows that he's going to receive the ball, and so then he's going to come into that space in between the four Salernitana players and receive it, and then he can pass it on to either Mertens that you see in front or Zielinski. So the way that Napoli is super compact and working in triangles going forward, it gives them a lot of different opportunities. And we didn't have in the end that final pass where you play all these triangles, all these very nice triangles, and then you launch it forward for someone like Osimhen to run into the space. We were just stuck making these little triangles And, that's only useful to get from the midfield to, just in front of the defense. And then after that, you need someone that runs into the space. And we missed that today tremendously without Osimhen. Let's see what else people are saying. ID Beats is saying, I'm sad that Chucky has not been finding his feet. Neither has Zielinski been doing so, which is sad. But as long as we are getting wins, it doesn't matter too much. And I'm obviously of the same opinion. As long as the team is winning, I don't really mind if a player is not playing so well, because I know that it's just form. I know that Zielinski is going to turn up. I know that Lozano is going to turn up at some point this season. And the important thing is that at least we're winning whilst they're not, at their top. And for me, this just means that Napoli has so much more potential. I mean, a Napoli with Politano, Zielinski, and Lozano in full form, and even players like Mertens. I mean, the 4 guys that were playing up top for us, none of them are in form at the moment. None of them. And yet we still won the game. But, you know what they say, class is permanent and form is temporary, so that's going to come back at some point. Navin Baleko is saying, yo, do we have a chance to win the Europa League? Navin, bro, you've asked that 4 times, and I get it. You want me to answer that question, which is awesome. I will answer it, but don't spam the chat like that. So I try to cover as many people as possible, but if for some reason I don't get to someone's question because I miss it or something, don't spam 100 times, because then people are gonna leave the chat. So I might miss it once, and then 10 minutes later another question that you have, I might get it, and but I'll answer your question. Yo, do we have a chance to win the Europa League? Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that we are the strongest team in that competition right now. There's obviously going to be Champions League teams that come down, but I think that Napoli is at the level of those Champions League teams that come down. So there is a chance. I would say we are probably with the best chance in a while, and it's one of those competitions that I really want to see Napoli win, because as I said in other videos, next year we're probably in the Champions League, and hopefully we're in the Champions League for many, many more years to come. And that means that we won't have as much of an opportunity to win a European trophy as we do this year. We're unlucky to be in the Europa League, but lucky that we have a chance to win a European title, if that makes sense. And we won't have that situation in the future. ID is saying, does Spalletti need to keep players like Lobotka and Demme in the loop more? Get them some playtime in the last 10-15 minutes, especially when we are winning comfortably. Example, Bologna. I'm not sure why Lobotka isn't playing, to be honest. I mean, I think he's come back from injury. He's training okay, and he hasn't found any minutes. Demme as well. I think it's one of those things where he will play the full Europa League game, and this was one of those games where, because it was it was a game that was played in the midfield so much, it was so physical, so intense, sometimes you don't want to make subs in the midfield, because you want players that are playing at this level to stay, and keep that intensity. And when you bring in a sub, sometimes, they're not quite ready yet, they have to get used to the rhythm of the game, and it will take them a few minutes to come back to that level. And those few minutes, so often teams concede goals right after substitutions because the midfielders are not yet at the right speed. So in games where the ball's played in the midfield quite a lot, it can be risky. Honestly, I would have made the sub if I was there, but I guess Spalletti had reasons not to. Let's see. Let's go on to the next chance that Napoli had, which was this one with Politano, strangely enough, going on his right foot, swinging it in. And I love this from Chucky, because look at his position. It is so far away from the Salernitana right back, but immediately he recognizes that the ball's going to come in between the right back and the center back, and he just is so good at finding the right time to sneak up on defenders and put his head on the ball. I mean, the way he leaps, the timing is always impeccable, but he's been so, I don't know if it's unlucky or wasteful with this talent that he has, because I feel like he gets at least one of these chances every game with his head, and yet we haven't seen too many goals by Lozano, and I think it's one of those things that he's doing 90% correct, and then that last 10% he needs to man, who is this Polski guy? I'll hide this user. So yeah. I think I hit it. Yeah, there we go. Messages deleted. I just hate people that spam. So even if you're like, I didn't even read what he said, but I just saw that he posted a wall of text like 5 times. So and honestly, if there are people that come onto the chat and they, want to start some beef or something with me, it's not my style to go back and have beef with people and start, complaining about things with fans from other teams. As I said so many times, I couldn't care less what other people from other teams are saying, and I'm not gonna get involved in those things, because again, I couldn't care less. So let's focus on Napoli, which is what I'm trying to do. This is, I think, a situation when we really saw that Napoli was missing Osimhen, because we had Mertens that started a counter-attack, passed it on to Rui, then passed it on to Lozano, and we were missing then someone in attack that would stretch that Salernitana defense. I mean, look at their trapezoid. Is that a trapezoid? Let's call it a trapezoid. Look at that trapezoid that they have. They've got 5 players, and there's no room for Chucky to cut inside on his right foot, which is what he wants to do. So what we needed in this case was Mertens to make a run into the space that I highlighted, and that way he could hopefully drag at least 2 defenders down the field, and that could potentially open the space for Chucky to cut inside, or maybe a pass towards Zielinski, who's right behind them. But the way it is now, that defense is so compact and not being stretched at all. And when you don't stretch it, you don't have spaces to pass the ball into. So with, I think, Osimhen, and Mertens kind of stopped his run. With Osimhen, with a bit more speed, that would have created havoc in the defense, and it would have really helped Napoli progress in attack. And also, I think that if someone did that run, which I'm highlighting here, it would have also given Lozano, yes, a chance to pass it or cut inside, but he could have also done a pass towards goal where the run's being played. So yeah. Let's see. IDBs is saying he said something about Porenzo Insigne stealing his pens and shame on you, Insigne. Oh, that was the text. Okay, yeah, I've seen that joke go around about Insigne because he just scores on penalties. It's a funny joke, it sucks that I had to block the guy because it's a funny joke, and like it would have been cool if he had it just written out once. I don't mind a bit of banter on the chat, obviously, but it's when you spam and then you can't like have a conversation with people anymore. So yeah, sucks to suck, but hey, it is what it is. And then I want to talk about Anguissa. I want to talk about Anguissa because this guy got mistreated all game, and for him to put on the shift that he put on today, and he got so much abuse on that field, so many tackles. I mean, look at his face. Look how they treated my man here. Unbelievable. Look at that face. It leaves me speechless, honestly. And this, no yellow card. Obviously, no red card. The ref barely gave a free kick for this. I don't even know if this was a free kick. I mean, my man Frank. The disrespect that Salernitana had for him. Guys, yes, Tony Ejiro is saying subscribe, like, and share. Yes, guys, if you are liking this content, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, because I do this every Napoli game, and I try to provide you some really dope content, like with the interview with Oma Akatuba, and share it, because it helps the channel grow, and it makes me happy, and if I'm happy, then Napoli win. It's scientifically proven. So share it, like it, send it to your mom, send it to your grandma, send it to your cousin, whoever, yeah, your dad. Anyways, after you sent this video to your mom, let's focus back on the game, and this is the key moment in the game, guys. This is the key moment. 59th minute, all right. Spalletti makes a bold call, and he takes off Lozano and Mertens, right? And he puts on Elmas and Petagna. And at this point, we see that Napoli then is able to have more presence in the box because of two reasons. One, obviously, Petagna is more of a number 9 than Mertens, but also Elmas, who is originally playing on that left wing and, you know, in place of Lozano, he's a player that likes to move around a bit more in and around the box. He's a bit more of a number 10 than Lozano is. You know, Lozano likes to cut in with the ball in his feet, but he doesn't go looking for the ball in that number 10 area. That's the biggest difference between Lozano and Elmas. Elmas will be roaming around, just trying to find a loose ball here and there. And basically, this leads to Napoli's goal less than a minute later, which is amazing timing. And you can see here, the ball's given to Elmas. Elmas gives it to Petagna. Petagna gives it back to Elmas, and then Elmas gives it over to Zielinski. But you see how Elmas's position is very central, almost like an extra number 10, because unlike Lozano, he floats a bit more, and this frees Zielinski to get out of that position, and then he can provide that second option and go in behind Petagna. He doesn't have to be the number 10 anymore. But Petagna's super useful there himself, because he's the guy that in Italian we call him sponda, like a wall. You know, you just give the ball to Petagna and he gives it back to you and allows you to, you know, if you're facing one way and then you give it to Petagna, it allows you the time to turn your body and then you receive it back and then you can, you know, feed Zielinski. He's just that buffer that you need at times, that wall that you need in front of you to just get your bearings correct. So they play this 1-2. He sends it back to Zielinski. Zielinski then plays it back to Petagna very intelligently. Instead of trying to shoot, he sees that Petagna is free. Petagna, the ball's kind of behind him, so he's stretching. But, you know, it's that height that matters. Because if it was Mertens there, the ball would have gone over him. He gets ahead on it, hits the post, comes back. There's a bit of ping pong going on in there, you know, and then the ball falls onto the feet of Zielinski, and Zielinski puts it in the back of the net. And this is symbolic in my opinion, because this is a player that's been having the worst time this season. He is by far Napoli's classiest player, you know, the most classy, the one that's, it's almost like watching ballet when you watch Zielinski play football. And yet he's the guy that in his worst season, in the toughest, dirtiest game of the season, he's the guy that wins it. He's the guy that, he's like a goody two-shoe, and then he steps up and he's like, bam, goal, And it's symbolic. It means that Napoli is able to win in every single way. People are stepping up when it matters. And these are the goals that players like Zielinski don't normally score. They don't score scruffy goals. And if you've got players like Zielinski scoring scruffy goals and you're winning the game 1-0, then that says a lot. IDB is saying Fabian is classier than Zielinski. Change my mind. Zielinski is the nutmeg king, and he does it so effortlessly. So, yeah, for me, it's always going to be Zielinski. Fabian is a maestro. Fabian is the guy that, he would be like an artisan. In a different life, he'd be the guy like carving wood or something. He'd be like, he just, you feel me? But Zielinski is that magic of playing with the ball. Different types of really good players. And that was a bad explanation of it, but that's what happens when you're live. You can't think of better examples than that. I want to read more comments, guys, before I go on. Anguissa is the most diverse midfielder in the league, I think, says Dave FC. Potentially true, but he has not yet scored. When Anguissa is able to score goals to the level of, it won't be to the level of Fabian, but when he adds even just 2 or 3 goals to his game, then we can talk about a very complete player. But right now, he's missing that forward, that final touch forward. Even though we did see some really good assists, but yeah, he's missing the goal. And I think as a midfielder, it's important. And I know that defensive midfielders don't score a lot, but even defensive midfielders, the really good ones, I'm talking let's say a Seedorf or a Busquets, a Pirlo, a De Rossi, like guys that sit back, they'll get a few goals in the season. They'll end the season with 3, 4, 5 goals, and they're usually the goals that allow teams to win titles because they are, exactly, Casemiro, Kimmich, they score goals, and they score important goals, Casemiro scored a very important goal against Napoli a few years ago. Kimmich, in last season when they played against Dortmund, he scored a fantastic goal, lobbed it over the keeper. So they are players that are complete in those positions. Anguissa is missing that final touch. Wow, Napoli Talk really needed to circle the subs and time, says ID. Yeah, man, I gotta, present things as clearly as possible. Zielinski fan, because I am Polish and I want to know how players are doing at club level, and Zielinski is my favorite player. He's asking, how has Zielinski been in Serie A? Overall, he's been incredible. Last season, he was with Insigne and Lozano, Napoli's best player. He was a joy to watch. Absolute joy to watch. One of my favorite players. Makes things look so easy. This year, he struggled. He's got 2 goals, I think, to his name. But his form's not been so good. And I think it's because of the injury that he picked up at the start of the season. And it's because of the Euro that he played. And he just needs to get back to his level, and he said it himself in a recent interview. Fabian Ruiz is a very similar player to James Maddison. Play Ruiz as a 10. Not only are they very similar players, they also kind of look alike. I love James Maddison from Leicester. Absolutely love him, and I rate him, as you say, very similarly to Fabian Ruiz. But I think Fabian now is in the perfect position. He's been having his best season so far, and I think he's so useful for Napoli with finding the right geometries in front of the defense to link the midfield to the attack. And then Zielinski, who's a more skillful player, then he's the one that can take a bit more risks, and he should be the one playing as a number 10 and connecting, the midfield, the attack even further on down the field. because you wouldn't want Zielinski to be doing his dribbles, right in front of the defense, for example. Let's see. One last thing. IDB saying, did you see the video of Mertens and Malqui making fun of Anguissa's clothes and a lady handbag that Anguissa carried was the funniest thing ever? Man, yeah, that wasn't a lady handbag. That was his just sports bag, but it was like a Louis Vuitton bag. And Malqui was saying like, "Oh, where are you going with this?" Because everybody was like in their gym outfit, and Anguissa's just there with like a white button-down Louis Vuitton bag. It was the funniest thing. Anyways, let's continue with the match analysis. Talking about Anguissa, gets us a red card. Somehow the ref had to watch this 10 times. The commentators that I was watching the game with were saying that this is a soft red. This is a leg-breaking tackle in my books. Nothing soft about this one. So, yeah. Some people clearly need a visit to the eye doctor. So anyways, we get a red card, or they get a red card, and then 5 minutes later, Napoli get a red card. And this is Napoli getting caught on a break, 2 against 2, on a counter. And honestly, like, this should have never happened. You're playing against Salernitana, away from home, 10 against 11. Just sit back, control the ball, don't get caught on a counter like this. But we do. And, we start off the way we should be. Like, there's nothing wrong with Koulibaly and Rahmani's position here. They're perfectly in line. Rahmani is not allowing Ribery to come at him. Something that players mess up on a lot is that they keep moving back. So, a mistake by Rahmani would have been to follow Ribery all the way down until he gets close enough to shoot himself, and then he would score. And we've conceded several goals like that in the past, last year, against, for example, Atalanta, where I think it was Muriel who kept having the ball and then he scored. So Rahmani does something really good, which is that he stands his ground, you see? He doesn't keep going back, he stands his ground. And that forces Ribery to make a decision. Either he has to dribble Rahmani, which is not easy, or he has to find a pass. And this was a fantastic pass. I mean, 9 times out of 10, a player will mess up this pass. It will go very wide. It will go very long to the goalkeeper. He will do it a second too early and it goes to Koulibaly, a second too late and the player then is offside. But Ribery is the 1 out of 10 player. There's nothing wrong with how Napoli defended this. It's just that Ribery is that good. And he picks out a brilliant pass. There's nothing Koulibaly can do about that pass, in my opinion. And I think that here Koulibaly makes the 100% right decision. And with 10 minutes to go in the game, with Napoli already winning 1-0, he takes one for the team and gets a red card. And this is something that it sucks. It sucks that he has a red card. But honestly, this was the right call. He needed to make that intervention because Simi one-on-one with the goalie, he's going to score. There's a higher chance of Simi scoring here than Salernitana with Napoli back down to 10 men with 10 minutes to go and a free kick in that position. I mean, you have to think that Napoli was already 1 man up. We were already 1 goal up. So all this would have done is taken it back to 10 against 10 with Napoli still winning. So in my opinion, Koulibaly does the right thing. I'm not going to penalize him. As in, obviously it sucks that this happened, but I'm not going to say, oh, why did you do this? No, he did the right thing, the right call. And it's about being smart. It's about sometimes you got to take one for the team. You got to sacrifice yourself. You've got to make the tackle, the dirty tackle, or you got to, do something that doesn't feel right, but it's the right decision. And he did that. the commentators were saying that this was a mistake on Rahmani, as he should have closed in on Ribery. I personally don't think so, because you are still miles away from the box, so there's no reason for Rahmani to get closer than that. If Rahmani gets closer than that, then Ribery will dribble him, and then he's got all the time in the world to pick out a much easier pass for Simi or go off himself. And in my opinion, I think you need to back off until a certain point and then you stop. And I think Rahmani picked the perfect point, because Ribery is too far away from goal to be dangerous to the shot, but he's not getting too close. Honestly, it's hard to explain, but I think he was perfect here, Rahmani. But we'll see. Maybe the commentator, I don't know. Maybe the commentator played defense or is a coach and has a different opinion about it. But I can't blame Rahmani here, and I can't blame Koulibaly either. It was just a really good play by Salernitana, and honestly, the fault is more about how Napoli got to this situation in the first place. And then Ribery has this free kick, which was a beauty. But Di Lorenzo was smart enough and plays enough FIFA to know that you got to put a guy there, against Ribery. He probably, was playing last night and had a free kick go against him with Ribery there. And, you know what you do on FIFA. You always put someone there, because it's the only way to stop some goals coming in. Even though I haven't played FIFA in like more than a year. So maybe the new one's different. But at least in the old one, I used to do this when I did play. And anyways, he clears it off the line, and that was Salernitana's best chance of the game. And then for the next 10 minutes, for the last 10 minutes, Napoli sat back. At this point it's 10 versus 10. Salernitana didn't try too hard to go forward. I mean, you can see here they've got 4 in attack, and then not much in midfield going on. And yeah, I just felt that Napoli sat back a bit too much and allowed Salernitana to then pile on more players forward, because there was no one in Napoli keeping them in defense. Does that make sense? Whereas maybe if we were a bit more aggressive and allowed, let's say, Elmas to go alongside Petagna and move them both forward, it would have kept Salernitana defenders, in their positions. But instead, they were allowed to push forward, and it gave Salernitana a lot of corners. Napoli talk. Did you forget that Ospina horror show that made me so stressed? Lost his ID beats. I think he was fouled. I think if Salernitana scored off that situation there that you're speaking of, they would have cancelled that goal because of a foul on Ospina. Because the guy missed, the play just went on as a normal goal kick. So Frederick is saying, as a goalkeeper, I never want to have a defender on the line when there is a free kick. Interesting. I guess it's like I guess it's an obstacle that you have to be aware of, but this time it seemed to work. So yeah, interesting one. I think Ospina would have saved it, to be honest, because I think it wasn't too angled. I mean, the position where the ball came, I feel like Ospina could have gotten there. It wasn't top corner. It was just enough for Ospina to get a hand on it, I think. And anyways, that's pretty much it, guys. That's how the game went. And there was a lot of different fouls and everything in this game. 2 red cards. I mean, you can see here 11 fouls, 13. Actually, that's not a super high number, but I expected more. This is the first time I'm seeing this stat. I expected about 20 from Salernitana. I guess it's the referee that hasn't called them. But their possession was extremely low, 36%. They did less than 300 passes, so they didn't see much of the ball. and their pass accuracy was pretty bad, whereas Napoli was, that perfect sweet spot, 85%. Tight games, only 3 shots on target each. But the most important thing, guys, is that Napoli goes back to the top of the table whilst we wait for Milan and Roma to finish their game, which I believe, let's see what they're on right now. Milan and Roma, let me see, they are still 0-0, so that'll be a good result for us if it stays that way. And this is the top 7 right now, and it's very nice not seeing Juventus over there. And these are the player ratings for the game. So I hate to say this, and I hate to give Mertens a 5.5, but I felt like today the way Napoli struggled was because of Mertens, was because of him not providing enough depth, not providing enough muscle in the box. And it's not because he's played a worse game than what he should have. It's just not his style. There's nothing he can do about it. But I gotta be fair with my ratings. I think he was the main reason why Napoli wasn't that good in the first half. Lozano and Politano, I think, could have done much more to help with that, but they were both a bit ineffective. The subs that came on, though, Elmas and Petagna, ballers, absolute ballers, guys. They came on and transformed the game within 1 minute. They linked up and basically gave us the goal. I know Zielinski scored it, which is why he's getting a 6.5 and not a 6, because Zielinski was not great today either. He would have been a 6 alongside Lozano and Petagna, especially for that miss in the first half. Maybe he also deserved a 5.5, to be honest, but then he did score the goal, the winning goal, and so I've got to reward him for that. But the way Elmas and Petagna came on, it means a lot. Like Elmas, every single time he's been coming on and producing, and it's so difficult to keep doing that. Like every time now he's producing off the bench. It's very, very good for us to know that there's someone on the bench that can change the game for us. Petagna as well, he hasn't played in a long time. In a long time. And for him to be involved in a goal like that, within the first minute, and then he was fighting for every ball, he did slide tackles and everything. It's just fantastic to see players that are squad players coming in and helping out so much in the game. And Spalletti, for the timing of those subs, gets a 7. So congrats to him. Di Lorenzo gets a 7 for his goal line clearance. Anguissa gets a 7 for just being a baller as well. They tried to bully him in there, and they lost out. They lost out to Anguissa. Fabian had a good game. Rahmani had a good game. Mairui had a good game. Slightly above, what we would consider average. Ospina, I'll give him a 6.5 because, man, this is the 8th clean sheet in a row. So even though he didn't really have that much to do, you've got to reward that. I mean, there's something that he's doing in terms of giving the players confidence, the defense confidence, the way he organizes the defense in front of him. I'm sure he's got something to do with that. So I'm going to reward him with a 6.5 for that. But yeah, the standouts, definitely Di Lorenzo. He was involved in the cross towards Zielinski in the first half. And he was also involved in the goal that we scored. His pass to Elmas is what started everything. Zlatan scored a free kick. Yeah, what a player, Zlatan, eh? What a player. 41 years old, 41 years old. Still decisive. Yeah. It happens, guys. It happens, and we'll just have to beat them on the field. You know what? Part of me is really enjoying Milan Milan winning, because I want this to go down to the very last game and to win it like that, rather than, build up 20 points lead over them. As long as we win in the end, it's nice. It keeps it interesting. But you guys are saying what a free kick. So yeah, let's see. Diego Marquez is saying most definitely Ospina's a pretty verbal with his back line. Yeah, I want to see Lozano and Politano do more. I think that's something that we're missing. It's as I said, it's fine because we're still winning games, but soon they're gonna have to step it up. Their statistics this year are just not good enough in terms of assists, in terms of goals, in terms of it's just not good compared to their level. Because we know we should be expecting much more from them. Anthony Navarro is saying, Dom, you ignored me. Where did I ignore you? Let's scroll back up. I don't see it. GDL, Giovanni Di Lorenzo was man of the match today. Important win without both Insigne and Osi, but let me tell you, I was upset about the certain lack of focus in the game. The Koulibaly red card was upsetting but important for the season to work without them. That's a good point. Maybe this Koulibaly red card is a bit of a... how do we say it? Like a rehearsal for when he's going to be away for the Africans Cup of Nations. We get to see what Rahmani and Juan Jesus at this point are gonna look like in defense, and at least we have Anguissa in front of them, so that it's not so scary as it will be in January. But I think most people would agree with these player ratings, to be honest. And as I said, the next games in the league are going to be Verona, and then we have a break, and then we have Inter. So hopefully by the time we have Inter, Koulibaly's back. He should be back. Hopefully we have other players come back from full fitness, like Unas, Osimhen. I feel like Osimhen might play against Verona, to be honest, but we'll see. But before that, we've got Thursday, a very important Europa League game against Warsaw. It's not Warsaw. Yeah, Legia Warsaw. And we need to win that. We need to win that because after that, it's two very tough games. We have to go to Russia in late November, which is not going to be fun. I would love to play for Napoli, but if there's one game where I'd be like, I don't know about that one, it'd probably be in Russia. I'm not really feeling it, guys. I'll be sick that day. That'll be my excuse or something. It can't be fun playing in Russia in November. So that's going to be interesting. And it's going to be on a Wednesday, which is a bit weird for Europa League. But and then after that, Lazio, the return of Maurizio Sarri to Napoli. But tough set of games after Warsaw. Potentially Warsaw as well. It's a hostile environment for Napoli as well, because they've got a link with Juventus. They're really good friends, Legia and Juventus, and they hate Napoli. So to be honest, all these games are tough. Ignore what I said before. They're all tough. And it's going to be interesting. Francesco Pinelli saying, going to Russia in the winter, when has that ever worked out? At least we're not German or French, so I don't know. The Italians still got to try it. Maybe the Italians have a better luck than the French and Germans had in the past. SJ is saying, rotating Zlatan and Giroud has been a stroke of genius so far for Milan. Respect to whoever decided to sign Giroud for them. Milan have been doing quite well. They've got the right mix of youth and experience, and I am honestly surprised they have as many points as they do. I knew that they were going to be a good team, but I thought they would be more on Inter's level, Now Inter have... what do they have? 27 points? Is it 27 points? 24 points, sorry. I would have expected Milan to be on 24, 25, something like that. The fact that they can jump up to 31 with us is incredible. I mean, I didn't expect Napoli to be on 31, but it's incredible what these two teams are doing. Setting really, really high levels of football. I mean, let's work out what Napoli would finish up in the league if they kept this up. So we've done 11 games. That is 29% of the season. So, at this rate, let's see, we would finish the season with 107 points, which is incredible. Out of a total 114. Imagine dropping 7 points all season. That's the rate that Milan and Napoli are going. It's something that I've not even been able to do on FIFA, to be honest, when I did career modes as a kid. So yeah, just incredible by Napoli and Milan, and I hope it goes down to the wire. Also because Napoli and Milan, I think they play towards the end of the season, the return leg, so that'll be interesting. So that's that, guys. There is the press conference, and then I think we would be able to wrap this up, and then we can all go watch the second half of Milan-Roma, which is really the only half that matters. So let's see Spalletti, what he had to say. He said, so they asked him, so it was a dirty win, and he said, yes, very dirty. The team conducted the game very well, though. We were missing a bit of quality in the tight spaces, which we tried to do with having Mertens. And the goal, we scored it in a very difficult situation. There was the crossbar as well. With us being 11 against 10, we needed to have the maturity to not be caught on the counter. And after that, the game, when it was back down to 10v10, became very dirty. In that moment, we needed to put something a bit more than quality, and we needed to put physical power in there, and we did that. Everything worked out well for us. Can I just say also, let me go back to my formation. Can I just say we had the debut of Zanoli, that youngster with the crazy, not crazy hair, but like the mop hair in the bottom, which is extremely nice to see. Spalletti giving a youngster some time in such a heated game, such an important game, with the score only at 1-0. Shows a lot of trust. Francesco Pinelli, Maronna mi dom, Napoli and Milan are playing against each other at the end of the year, with both teams being in the race for the Scudetto. Would be very bad for my heart. Yeah, I think for all of us. Imagine, it's not the last game of the season, but imagine if it was the last game of the season and it was a title decider. Would be unreal. So yeah, let's go back to the press conference with Spalletti. They asked him about the Elmas and Petagna substitution, which was perfectly timed, and he said, every once in a while people forget that we played 2 days ago. This rotation had to be done, otherwise we start having muscle problems. Elmas deserved to play again, but Zielinski didn't play the game before, so it was right that Zielinski started. Elmas, from my point of view, is a fantastic, exceptional player. He always trains at 2000%, and when he plays, he always deserves to play the next game as well. I love those words about Elmas from Spalletti, because it's what I feel as well. And I was critical of Elmas last season because it felt at times that he wasn't giving it 2000%. He was giving it 100, but I wanted to see 2000% from Elmas because he's so talented, and when he comes off the bench, he needs to show the world. He needs to come off the bench with that desire to show the world that he can be one of the best, and I'm not joking about that. And so I wanted to see 2000% from Elmas, but sometimes he was only giving 90 or 100. But this year, he is giving that 2000%, and Spalletti is noticing that. They asked him about Insigne, obviously, about having kept him on the bench all game, and he said, yesterday he had a bit of a muscle problem. We finished the training and we were confident that we would still be able to play him, but this morning he came to me and said that his muscle is not feeling that great. He's saying, if there's a need for me to come onto the field because the team needs me, great. Otherwise, let's not do it. So we evaluated and we said, let's not take that risk. Especially when the game was 10v10, it wasn't worth putting him on, because at that point the game was a battle, and there was a lot of tackles going on, so it's better not to have risked Insigne. And I hope, and he's saying, ironically, he's saying, but I can already imagine the newspapers with the headlines that I left out Insigne, and I'm going to become, the asshole once again, because he has this reputation, Spalletti, that he goes against the captains of the teams he manages, Icardi and Totti, and all these sort of issues with them. About Mertens and Osimhen, he's saying Mertens, he still needs to get into condition, and Osimhen, we have to see if he's going to be able to play the next few games, potentially for Sunday, but we'll have to see. Zielinski's goal was fundamental today. I wanted to take him off because he was tired, but then he scored, and he had a few moments of brilliance that we are used to from Zielinski. He was very upset that he missed a chance in the first half, and it's correct that he's the one that then scores it in the second half. Then they ask him if these games are the ones that the team, makes the team think about the Scudetto, and he's saying, I saw Salernitana lose games in which they created a lot of chances. Obviously, this win is very important for us, and it was a different way to win the game. We had to, put our elbows out to win the second balls, and today we showed that we deserve to be up there. So that's Spalletti, and let's take a look at some of the last few comments that you guys have for me. Let's go read some of the comments. Let's see. From where should I go? SJ is saying, whichever rat disliked this video is a hater, probably a Juve fan. Yeah, I mean, they can dislike all they want. I'm not bothered by it, guys. Michael Simi is saying, what do you think of KK red card? As I said before, I talked about it when I did the match analysis. I think it was something that is soft, but you've got to give it. On paper, he's the last man, didn't try to get the ball outside the box. That ticks all the boxes for a red card, so it is what it is. And yeah, let's take maybe one or two more questions that I missed. Let's see. A few people are saying that they're scared of Simeone for next game. He's on form. Let's see what Juan Jesus and Rahmani do. So, guys, I am going to wrap that up here so that I can have dinner. Maybe I'll take the last question from Igor, which is, why do you think Spalletti played the youngster in such a crucial moment? I think because, first off, he's got trust in his players, and at some point you can say a lot of times, you can say that you trust someone, that you trust your team, but then you've got to prove it. And for Zaniolo, he will feel so good about this. So it's important, to sometimes take those risks. It's easy to play a youngster when you're winning 3-0, put him on the last 5. It's more difficult when it's 1-0, a derby game with lots of red cards. This is the stuff that will keep that kid motivated to keep growing, So yeah, I like Spalletti. I like the way he's doing his subs. He's thinking about things, and yeah. Serious question. Are you not worried about fighting in the Europa League and potentially costing us the Scudetto? No, I'm not worried about that. We got to approach every competition with the mentality to win, because that's the mentality that Napoli need to have. We can't keep thinking like a small team. We've definitely got the squad to do well in the Europa League as well as the Scudetto. We've got to keep doing it. Lorenzo Libutti saying, if Napoli keeps winning, this guy gonna have to quit his job. Yeah. Hopefully Napoli keep winning. And yeah, hopefully more people find the channel. Hopefully, maybe Napoli find the channel and, offer some sort of collab. Fabrizio Landria is in the house. Ciao Fabrizio, come stai? Always a pleasure having you on the chat, man. And guys, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. I'm gonna have to wrap this up for you guys. Let's go watch Milan Roma, or Roma Milan actually. It is Roma Milan, isn't it? Let's go watch that, and let's go have dinner if you haven't had dinner, or I don't know what time it is for you guys. Maybe lunch in some places. Let's go do those things, and we will see each other again on Thursday. And as always, Forza Napoli sempre.